Hello, welcome into the CHGO White Sox postgame show presented by our friends over at Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. It is a Sunnyside Summer Thursday. Visit sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Enter promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary, bright buys every day, only for 21 plus or Illinois medical card holders. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. Alongside me, Herb Lawrence.
Hello.
Our CHGO White Sox community leader. You can follow him at Ecknerwall23. You can follow me at Sean _W _Anderson. You can follow the show at CHGO _White Sox. We're being produced today by our pal Sarah. Maybe we'll say hey, but probably not on a remote show. We are remote today, and we will be back in the studio on Sunday for a post-game recap of the Mets series. So if you are looking for some Mets coverage, it won't be on Friday and Saturday, but Sunday we will recap all 3 games of that upcoming series. Vinnie Duber will be joining us from Guaranteed Rate Field in just a second after this 2-1 loss against the Texas Rangers. The White Sox were swept for the 21st time in a series. Their 104th loss. And Herb, I'm still looking at the calendar in my upper right corner of my my computer, and it says Thursday, August 29th. So they could lose 105 games in August. I mean, that's probably just where we start. I mean, I don't care about Benintendi's 15th home run. Honestly, at this point, he could hit 30, and I don't care.
I mean,
they're all garbage time.
I mean,
what was the Cubs? I think the Cubs game was the last time he hit a meaningful homer.
Yeah, and probably just the walk-off was the other one where he hit a meaningful actual home run. So he's hitting all these, if you're an older fan, Albert Bell home runs from 1998, where Albert Bell just went off that whole year and the White Sox were out of the contention. But yeah, it's good to see him do that. But yeah, this is just it's not that they're losing, because it's like you said, it's 104th loss, so we're used to the actual losses. It's how they're losing. And yet again, the guy who's on the tip of my tongue every time when the White Sox do something baseball IQ lacking is Lenyn Sosa.
I thought you were going to go with Andrew Benintendi. We were already talking about him. We got a double dip here, so why don't you start with Lenyn, and then I'll tag on in with the hot tag, and we'll hit him with the double move on Benintendi.
I mean, last night, the miscommunication between him and Nicky Lopez, that happens. The ball was hit in between them. More on Lenyn's side, that one can be excused. But then the subsequent play, he can get just an out. Ball hit right to him. Runners coming in his direction. He tries to tag that runner. That runner avoids the tag. Then he tries to get the ball out of his glove. Gets 0 outs out of a situation where you should have got 2. Then, later in that same game, he pops a ball up, straight up, and just stands there and looks at the ball instead of hustling, as you're told to do. Let the umpire tell you it's foul or you're out. No, he just looks and has a good time, like everybody, the 11,000 people at the game last night, and 11,000 in name only, because there wasn't 11,000 people at that stadium last night. Just chills out and watches that. Then, in the half inning between there, he's coming second, like he's supposed to do when the catcher's supposed to throw the ball down to second after the pitcher's warmed up. He's there, but he's not paying attention to what's going on, and so the ball hits him right in the face. And then today, ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. There's a ball hit to Nicky Lopez's side. It's a routine play for Nicky Lopez. Lenyn Sosa says, I'm going to come from my second base position across second base in front of Nicky Lopez, who has the easier throw, the better play, and take the ball away from him and throw a ball across my body to the first base, which was off the bag and also late. Like, these type of things are baseball IQ, and he's lacking them. Earlier in the year, he did another play versus Philadelphia where there's double stealing, and he doesn't realize this until way too late. I don't know what's going on with the White Sox and their development, but this is part of development, knowing baseball. And it seems to me like he got away with just being a masher and a guy that killed in the minor leagues. Now, when it's time to actually play baseball and play it the way you're supposed to play it, Lenny Sosa is not there. He's lost. And I would hope, not punitively, but I would hope that Grady Sizemore and the rest of the coaching staff sees that this guy doesn't have his head in the game, and or is it smart baseball player, and sits him down and put a player in there that is a little smarter.
Well, and to just tag on to this, you talk about the White Sox developing and their lack of development. Again, it just shows that they have 104 losses on August 29th. But I think it just snowballs because you can look in the 8th inning. You have Fletcher who singles into left. Then he gets to second on a wild pitch. Then he gets to third on a wild pitch. Miguel Vargas draws a walk. You get first and second, first and third. And then Lopez comes up. Nicky hits one to the shortstop. Seager's on his butt. Semion's not there at second to cover. So from his butt, Seager has to throw out Nicky Lopez. And Sarah, if you want to flash the quote graphic, you just kind of got a little bit of disbelief here from DJ and Len. DJ just saying, what are we doing? As the last out of the 8th inning was made, where Nicky, if he just ran a little bit harder, showed a little bit more effort, he probably would have beat that out. And that would have been the first run for the Sox. And then Benintendi's homer in the 9th would have tied the game up. And even Len himself, not really a guy that offers too much commentary, just adding a wow as they go to break. I thought it was pretty telling there. And then you also see this continue as Langford was hit by a pitch, and then Heim flies out to left center. Benintendi's backing up, so he's reaching up for it. It's kind of a longer route to it. So that was the one thing DJ said was like, it's a nice play to get over there, but he doesn't have the intention to throw, and he's catching it lazily. He's stepping onto his back foot. He doesn't have an intention to throw. And the way that DJ described it was Langford really wasn't even going to tag up. He just went back to first. He got to first and then realized I could probably make it to second here. It wasn't even like he was aggressively going, and Benintendi wasn't ready to throw. If he gets it in quicker, Langford likely doesn't go. At the end of the day, it's a moot point. None of these runs score, but at least in the 8th inning, a little bit more effort there likely gives you a tie ball game in the 9th if Benintendi hits the homer. And two, I mean, it's just about setting the tone. I mean, you have your highest paid player in Andrew Benintendi just consistently showing crap effort. I know we got to watch our swears. I don't know where my train whistle is. That would probably be a better effect than my swearing, my sailor mouth. But I'm so sick of just this pathetic effort from the highest paid player on the White Sox. And I know people are upset with Robert. You can be upset with anyone. They have 104 losses. I don't care who you're upset with. Just be mad. If you're not mad, you don't care, which is not your fault. That's just apathy setting in. But still, it's just garbage all around.
Yeah, and you said it, Sean. We've talked about the White Sox losing these games, and you can lose because you don't have talent. That is understandable. And the White Sox don't have talent. But I think 104 losses by August 29th, a good portion of those losses are because of lack of effort, not being smart at baseball, not doing the right things in the games. They lost by 1 run today. Well-pitched game by both sides. But as you say, when it's time to make a play for that extra base, the other team's looking for that. I mean, what is that, Jung? That guy he's got 1 stolen base before today. Today he had 2. That play was Langford, but I'm saying Jung, like coming into today's game, he only had 1 stolen base. He saw the White Sox and he's like, this team can't throw me out. And that's a scouting report thing. Yes, Corey Lee has a strong arm, but they know that the White Sox don't emphasize or do holding on base runners at all. And this dude who had 1 stolen base before today got 2, including a steal a third, which was not contested at all. So these things keep on adding up, and I'm guaranteeing it's weighing on the players and the coaching staff. And that's why I would like a fresh new coaching staff. I would love a fresh new GM, but I know that's not going to happen. Just to be out of here, just go, because evidently the stuff they're teaching these guys is not coming through, or they're teaching them the wrong things. So yeah, 104 losses in it is inexcusable in itself, but the way they lose games is so infuriating. I'm still caring about this team, and I still care about quality baseball. You can lose these games, but not lose the way that they have. Earlier in the Grady Sizemore, the dead cat bounce, you got a little bit more effort. Now they've pretty much settled in after they wore those Grady Sizemore t-shirts to being the players that they usually are.
And we appreciate Jared saying, if you're watching, throw the guys a like. We would appreciate that. We will have Vinnie Duber joining us in just a bit. And whoa, we have a super chat. Look at Kevin Bryant coming in with the $5 super chat. Now I really wish I had my slide whistle. Kevin Bryant with the $5 super chat saying, why can't we develop talent for the future and compete on the major league level? This seems like a self-imposed retool. No need to lose 300 games. Kevin, you are a very smart person. The only reason why this is being a retooling of the Chicago White Sox is because Jerry Reinsdorf doesn't want to spend the money. I called this crap. Again, I got to watch my mouth. Back in December, Jeff Passan tweeted out that the Royals were going after Michael Wacha. And I know it's just one singular signing, but that is a team that went out this offseason, I think spent $100 million to bolster their team around their superstar. Their superstar is their best player on their team. Vinnie Duber, I think he thinks he's probably the best player in the AL right now, and likely will vote for him in the MVP vote if he had one. I don't think he has one this year. So I'm not trying to ruin that. Please don't come after me, BBWA. I did not.
Listening every day, like
not trying to give anything away. I'm just saying.
Let's take that vote away from Vinny now that Sean mentioned it.
I know where Vinny leans, but he's a big fan of Bobby Witt, and you can see now that they're not guaranteed to win the AL Central, but going into September, if Bobby Witt has another crazy month, they're going to have a really good shot to make the playoffs. If you and obviously Robert's stardom has dimmed a little bit, but I don't think most Sox fans after a 61 and 101 season would have been upset if the White Sox went out and spent $100 million on free agents rather than, the dink and dunk specials that they did, like the Fetty move. But outside of that, Brebbia was crap. Flexen's been, worth his weight. I guess DeYoung's been, probably the best overall free agent signing, just because he was worth so little and you got something for him and he's been all right. Now playing decent third base for your Kansas City Royals now. But yeah, it seems like, it is absolutely self-imposed. The reason why you're looking at 104 losses, already surpassing last year's loss total before September even starts, is because of Jerry Reinsdorf's leadership. I think that's very clear to see for everybody. But hey, I don't think Herb and I mind hammering it home.
No, and you talked about Michael Wacha. They went out and got Seth Lugo. Like, they got some people to fortify their starting rotation with veterans. They said, okay, we got 100 plus losses. They had more losses than the White Sox last year, if you guys didn't remember that. More losses. I think they had 106 last year with Bobby Witt Jr. doing the stuff that Bobby Witt Jr. still did last year. And then they're like, okay, we're going to get a full year of Pasquantino. We're going to get Bobby Witt back. Salvi's going to do Salvi things, but now we need to take that next step up. Let's get that rotation going. Yeah, we already have people in our rotation and Cole Reagans and Singer, but imagine getting Seth Lugo, what he did in San Diego last year, and then turned into the guy that he is in Kansas City. I think that the White Sox could take a lesson from the Kansas City Royals and maybe do those like little small moves, but also we already know that they're not going to be going out and searching for great pitching value like the Kansas City Royals got. And even if they are, I guarantee they're not going to be hitting on them. And or if they hit on them, they're going to trade them immediately like they did with Eric Fetty.
And we got 2 super chats coming in, and we'll take a break. Our guy Louie with a $5 super chat saying, sorry guys, just sad. Who's coming to San Diego for loss 121 on September 22nd? 4-17 to accomplish this. Seems likely. He's got a ticket for you, and they can watch a real team. So Herb, maybe you go watch 121. You be our man on the street out in San Diego, and you go hang out with Louie.
I mean, you ain't said nothing but a word, Louie. If I could, I would go out to San Diego at any time. We were actually just looking up trips to San Diego
there you go.
For September because the flights were really cheap. But I don't think we can do it because we're also going to Vegas in October. So I want to keep some of that money so I can lose it to Vegas instead of San Diego. But I appreciate the invite, Louie. I think another guy, I forgot his name. I don't know. He's usually in the chat. I met him up in San Francisco. I know Nate. Nate lives in the San Diego area. So I would definitely hit Louie and Nate up if I was going to be going out there, because, man, I love that stadium. Love the San Diego Padres, even though they lost today. And I would love to see the White Sox just get demolished by them.
And it will happen. Just like another day coming around. It's just another White Sox loss. And our guy Ellie coming in and saying, I just want one comeback win, just one. Don't we all? Just one singular one. Benintendi gave you half one. Does that count? Maybe you say just half one and then half one, and then you get a full one.
Travis Jankowski just hates the White Sox. He said, Nope, Ellie, you can't get a comeback win. Take it.
And Nicky Lopez hates hustle, so you also don't get a comeback win. So there you go. After the break, we're going to be talking about Nick Nastrini's return to the White Sox rotation and how he looked in today's start. But first, we want to let you know about our friends over at Ray CDJR. Shop summertime savings going on now at Ray Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram, and save on the perfect new vehicle for you. This August, score new, lower prices across their huge inventory during the Make This the Sale Summer event. For a limited time, get 0% financing for 36 months on the most of their new 2024 Jeep models, or shop over 125 vehicles priced under $20,000. Let the amazing team at Ray CDJR help you during each step of your car shopping journey. With Ray's Price Promise, the numbers you're hearing now are the same prices you can expect to shop in-store or online. That's because Ray's Price Promise means no price changing, no add-ons, and no hidden fees. And since they prioritize affordability for their customers, hurry into Ray CDJR today and shop one of Chicagoland's largest inventories, then drive home with more money in your pocket than you'd expect. So if you are in the market for a new vehicle, you have to check out the team at Ray Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram, because they are the only team we recommend. Visit them today on Route 12 in Fox Lake. For more information, visit Ray CDJR in Fox Lake or raycdjr.com. Serving the community since 1963. We also want to let you know about our friends over at Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. Again, it is a Sunnyside Thursday. Go support our pals over at Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. They are here to elevate your summer while it's still hanging around, while that summer feeling is still haunting you. Go check out our friends over at Sunnyside. They're your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping. They have a crazy selection with over 100 different strains to choose from, with easy online ordering and in-store pickup. Wherever you are in Illinois, Sunnyside has a location for you. They have spots as far south as Champaign and as far north as South Beloit. You can stop into the store nearest you for expert guidance from their staff, or select from quality lines like Cresco or Floracal. And here for the summer, if you're hitting the links, check out Good News' Tea Time disposable vape that brings a classic lemonade flavor that is perfect for the golf course. Head over to sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off, 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Enter promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify for 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Exclusions apply. If you haven't checked out this deal yet, there isn't a better deal in the Chicagoland area, likely the state, for your first 3 purchases at a dispensary. So go make them at Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. Bright buys every day, only for 21 plus or Illinois medical card holders.
And to answer the question that Eric Goldstein asked, when was the last time the Sox won 2 games in a row? Sean, any guesses? Just off the top of your dome?
I did. It's probably too slow now.
In a minute.
It's got to be first half. Back-to-back games.
Correct.
They
actually won 3 games in a row at this period.
Well, no, it wasn't in May.
It was in June.
June against the Nationals? Was it that Nats stretch?
No,
that was May still.
Yeah, it was the end of June, 27th, 28th, and 29th. Makeup game versus Atlanta, 1-0 victory. Colorado, 5-3 victory. Colorado, 11-3 victory.
And we don't have all our buttons. I don't think Sarah can hit the RAR. I don't think that was the famous RAR game right there. That last win right there. So that's history right there. And thank you again, Ellie, for the super chat. I think he says, Aaron Judge has more home runs than the White Sox.
That's not true.
I don't think that's true.
I'm pretty sure.
I don't know if that's a fact. It's a funny bit. I believe it. The fact that I can't 100% deny it is pretty funny. All right. Herb, 2-1, close game, mainly due to Nick Nastrini. We talked yesterday about how he quieted his back foot in his delivery, how the biggest thing that we'd be looking for is the walks. I think that Nick Nastrini was pretty darn good. 6 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 earned run on a home run to Corey Seager, 3 strikeouts, and the most important number for you Chicago White Sox fan, 1 walk, 98 pitches for Nick Nastrini, and he lowered his ERA by a run and a half, taking it down to 7.08 on the year. So congratulations, Nick Nastrini.
Amazing what the White Sox development does lack in position players and how they come up to the major leagues and know the game. They actually do the opposite for pitchers. We've seen this in this year where Jonathan Cannon came up initially and we're like, nah, go back down and do your thing, brother. And he did. And I know people look at the ERA like, oh, mid-4s ERA, whatever. I think Jonathan Cannon has pitched very well in the time that he's come back from AAA. And you see today, I was listening to the Future Sox podcast with our guy Elijah and non-Dylan Cease. I think Dylan Barnes is his real name. So check that out.
At Not Cease.
At Not Cease. Yeah. So those guys really broke down and they've been championing the changes that Nick Nastrini has done. And, you know, it's looking like he's taking to whatever the acknowledgement for the White Sox. And I know Not Cease was kind of part of that with a tweet. And so it's very encouraging that he looked the part and he started the game off attacking. As I talked about last night, it was vital for him to show the Texas Rangers, I'm not no punk. And I know you read the scouting report and says I walked the yard, but today I'm coming right at you immediately. Simeon came right at him. Same thing for Corey Seager, who hit the home run against him eventually. But the first 10 guys, he got out immediately. He didn't spare any pitches either. 9 pitches in the first inning, 13 pitches in the second inning, 15 pitches in the third inning, ran into some trouble in the fourth, 23 pitches, 20 pitches in the fifth inning, and then ended the game with 18 pitches in the sixth inning to go and have a quality start. I think the 44th in White Sox 2024 starters this year, the 44th quality start, and most of those are, of course, by Garrett Crochet and Eric Fetty. It was very encouraging to see that he is looking like a guy that we saw maybe in spring training. And the guys also provided some color as far as Nick Nastrini having pneumonia in the middle of the year and losing some weight. And so now they are saying that he has gained his weight back from that illness and also has been sitting 95 in the minor leagues. And we saw today, he was just great with all his pitches, his off-speed pitches, especially his slider, just crisp. And his misses weren't that much. He wasn't like the umpire was on his game. They were just off the plate and the Texas Rangers were spitting on a couple filthy sliders, but his misses were all competitive for the most part. So that is an encouraging sight if you're a White Sox fan to see that the starting pitchers and the future of the starting pitchers continue to do well. And Nick Nastrini was a guy that I kind of wrote off because of how bad he looked initially, but now he's coming back in the majors versus a team that can hit and doing very well.
Well, and I think it's funny too that he looks so bad, like horrendously bad, kind of unthinkably bad when he came up to the major leagues, because we kind of talked about how this guy just seemed like ready for it. He seemed confident, seemed poised, seemed like, you know, there isn't any pressure on this team, so why would I put any pressure on myself? And then he went out there and kind of with the, bravado of a young guy, just being like, oh, this is going to go great. And I don't think he really understood the whole idea of what needed to happen, how he needed to go about those changes. And it's been great to see him figure out those changes, take his time, not rush. And he comes in and gives his best 6 innings of the year. So I'm extremely thrilled. And the thing is, too, I mean, he just looked like a true starting pitcher. You got 40 sliders in there out of 98 pitches, 34 seam fastballs, 20 curveballs, and then 8 changes from Nastrini, 18 balls in play, 86.2 mile per hour exit velocity. The homer to Seager was an awful pitch. So 97 fairly decent pitches and 1 stinking, hanging slider curveball that just was middle in. Like, not even like the worst pitch that you can throw in baseball. It's the wrong hitter to also throw it to. So just wrong pitch, wrong location, wrong hitter, get him next time. And he did. And the thing too that sticks out, command wise, called strike plus whiff percent, 29%. That's not really make or break. 30 is major league average for a major league starter. So 29%, give or take one bump. He was average there. And then you get 17 whiffs on 51 swings. I think he just looked truly, I think he represented himself truly here. I think this was the best he's looked in a White Sox uniform. And I think that's probably real exciting because he took a little bit of a fall on my prospect ranking just because it did seem like, all these problems were following him to Charlotte. But now it seems like he's fixed the problem. And it doesn't seem like a problem that will come back again, right? This isn't like a guy throwing with the wrong grip or, maybe he's just losing, like you mentioned, or Future Sox mentioned, losing that weight and losing that top end velocity. This is just keep your back foot quiet and you'll throw strikes. Let's go. Let the big dog eat. Speaking of big dogs, we got Vinnie Duber waiting in the green room. So let's head out to Guaranteed Rate Field and talk to Vinnie Duber, our CHGO White Sox beat writer, who I'm assuming did his job, and talk to today's starter, Nick Nastrini. What did Nick Nastrini have to say? Well, first of all, hi, Vinnie.
Hi, guys. How are you?
What did Nick Nastrini have to say after his return to the White Sox?
Yeah, he was happy with his outing. And I think the most interesting thing was kind of the way he gave credit to a lot of folks, not just Corey Lee, who he said has taken a huge step as a catcher between the last time he was pitching up here and today, but also the folks that he worked with down in Charlotte. And when asked kind of who those people were, he credited guys who were on the White Sox and maybe went down there to do a little rehabbing or do a little work or something like that. He specifically shouted out Dominic Leone, who as a guy who had a really nice conversation with him and maybe kind of imparted some knowledge to him on what it means to have some success in the big leagues. So obviously a different looking pitcher today in Nick Nastrini than the guy we saw last. And you can't argue with how effective that he was. But I think the journey to cleaning up some of the mechanical stuff that he needed to clean up is probably the more interesting part of his return today.
And last night we spoke to you about Lenny Sosa's tough day. Today, same thing. Like that play, and I think he tweeted about it, where he goes from his second base position to a play that's kind of routine for Nicky Lopez. He's like camped and ready for the throw. And it's a better throw for Nicky Lopez because he's got his feet set while Lenin's going across his body and throwing a throw wide of the bag. Did Brady talk about just like, for me, it's baseball IQ. That's just a bad play where you don't understand what's going on in the game. Like, did Grady talk about it? Because it's just, after a while, like, you got to address things like this. It's everybody seeing that this guy is not all there baseball-wise.
Grady didn't talk about it specifically, but certainly you've got these plays all piling up in the matter of a couple of days. And so obviously when they come in bunches, it throws a brighter spotlight on it. But listen, we've talked about Lenny Sosa for a while, for multiple years now, as being a guy who hasn't really been able to impress, at least in any sort of extended way, at the big league level. And it's one thing when you're not hitting, right? It's another thing when you're doing what you're talking about and making plays out there where you can't help but look at it and go, what's he thinking? What's he doing out there? I mean, flying over and from wildly out of position to cut off a guy who was in perfect position to make that play, it just made no sense. And then the throw is wide because he's got a terrible angle. I mean, it didn't really mean anything in terms of the run that scored that inning, but boy, just a bad look for a guy who had a lot of bad looks last night. I think seeing Lenny Sosa here at this point is not the worst thing. I mean, they do got to figure out what they have, right? I mean, this is a young guy. This is kind of what we've been talking about all year, Herb, that this is the opportunity to see what your young guys can do for you. But if they get to the end of this year, I would, and he's still making plays like this, you would think that they would have seen what they need to see in order to make a determination moving forward into 2025. I don't know how deep that group of infielders is going to be by the time they show up at spring training. And so because of that, maybe Lenny Sosa will still be part of that mix. But as I keep reiterating, to this point, he has not really shown anything that would indicate that he is going to be a big part of this moving forward.
We will talk about the declining middle infielder room for the Chicago White Sox as KPW lets us know about the waiver moves that have been made. Also, not only is Nicky Lopez going to be on waivers, but 2 former White Sox. So there's a little tease there. You're probably dying to know who else was put on waivers. We got to let you know about our friends over at Circa Sportsbook. Whether it's pro or college, the app to bet football is Circa Sports Illinois. Circa Sports, it's sports betting sports betting the way it should be. Circa Sports has high betting limits, low holds, and exceptional customer service. You will not deal with a chat bot. If you want to go and show yourself what Circa Sports Las Vegas looks like and wow yourself with Stadium Swim and the beautiful, massive sportsbook that they have inside, you can look at that and be like, wow, that must be a well-operated machine run by smart people. Well, guess who's running the app? The smart people that run the entire Vegas thing. So boom, there you go. Bet on all your favorite teams in every game this season. You got spreads, props, futures, or in-game. Circa Sports has it all. Fund and bet like a pro from anywhere, anytime in Illinois. Download your new bookie today at circasports.com. You must be 21 plus or older. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. This past weekend, my fiance and I went to Back to the Future, the musical, at the Cadillac Theater, and of course, I went to purchase those tickets on Game Time because I know that I'm going to get the lowest price guarantee with their Game Time guarantee, which states that if you find a lower price in your section in a row, Game Time will send you the 110% of the difference, just like I got when I went to Atlanta. I know my guy Alejandro appreciates that a couple of years ago. And a couple of the features that I like about Game Time is their all-in prices. Toggling this feature shows you the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. And also, you get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you go, so you know exactly what you're going to be seeing when you do sit in those seats. In Game Time's ticket coverage, your purchase is covered with most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code CHGO for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code, and it says to spell out. I don't know how else I would say CHGO, but whatever. CHGO for $20 off. Download Game Time today. You guys ready for it?
What time is it? Game time. Vinny wasn't ready for it.
Vinny's on mute. Sorry.
Oh, okay. It's okay, Vinny. Vinny, you could stay on mute because you did your job. Again, we're really proud of you for showing up every single day at Guaranteed Rate Field, even though there's been 104 losses and videotaping Nick Nastrini after the loss. So why don't we hear directly from the rookie, and we'll talk about his place in the 2025 rotation. Here is Nastrini postgame.
You feel different this time around than maybe your first stint here with the White Sox?
Just, able to execute pitches when I needed to. Got to a couple 3-2 counts, but I was able to execute a slider a couple times, and then fastball command was a lot better. So had some misses, but I was able to get it in the zone for the most part.
What did you focus on during that time in Charlotte down there with the work you put in?
Just cleaning up my delivery a little bit. There were some things that I identified that I needed to work on. And, just honing in on that, and then also honing in on being able to execute the fastball to the bottom and the top of the zone, and, use it to get back in the counts.
How much is a game like this essential for you and a lot of the other young pitchers, just to say, hey, my stuff does play here. I can win here?
Yeah, I mean, I knew, when I was up the last time that my stuff played, but I just needed to refine some things, needed to get in the zone, needed to stop walking guys, but, it's nice to see all the hard work pay off, and it's just a testament that it's not over till it's over.
From a mental standpoint, confidence standpoint, what kind of pitcher are you now versus maybe the first time you got up here early in the season?
Yeah, I mean, sorry, I ate some food. Yeah, I mean, it's huge to go out there and have an outing like that, but mentally things can't change. You got to be a strong-minded person regardless of if you're down in the dumps pitching poorly or playing poorly, or if you're pitching really well. You can't really ride the waves, because that's how the waves get really, really big, the waves get really, really high. You gotta stay pretty even keeled.
Who was the biggest help for you down there in Charlotte, you think? Who kind of guided you a little bit?
You know, some of the guys that came down, Leon came down. Him and I had a long talk after one of my outings in Nashville. He was doing a rehab stint there. So having some of the guys come down there, you know, that like knew me as I was here, but also knew me as a person. That was a big help. RC was great down there. Started talking to Fish, our team psychologist here, so that was a lot of help too. He's been a great help. So, you know, it's been really nice. So, I mean, those few people that I named, but there's been tons of people that have helped me. So, props to all those people that have helped me.
With some of the struggles the first time, did your confidence take a hit at all? But you said you knew your stuff played, so obviously.
Yeah. You know, it was just, you know, going out there and being able to execute.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, just being able to execute. Confidence really didn't waver, but I just needed to trust that, you know, I could get stuff in the zone when I needed to.
How much you guys depend on Corey? Obviously, your other catchers have been big, but you know, growth as a leader for him.
Yeah, I mean, the Corey that caught me today was not the Corey that caught me a few months ago. He has took a huge step forward just in his communication, especially in between innings. I mean, him and I, we live somewhat close to each other in the off season, and so I've got to watch him play as he's been going up as well, and I've kept tabs on him, and you know he's you know really grown as a catcher, and I'm super fired up for him.
What sort of tools do you get from the sports psychologist to kind of help you on a daily basis?
I'm gonna keep that between him and I. Yeah.
I know you don't want to ride the wave, but you were talking to Charlotte about not getting out of the second a few weeks ago. To be here now, just is that validating?
Yeah, you know, I mean, sometimes you can't get out of the second inning, and sometimes you have six. You know, just sometimes you have good games, sometimes you have bad.
Thanks much.
Sorry, I just had food. That was great there from Nick Nastrini. Also, this is not meant to be disrespectful. It is some, as a guy with no hair, some hell of a hair on Nick Nastrini. Great
Everywhere.
Curls there.
Like the eyebrow hair is also great.
Yeah, very lush. The hair though is giving a little Alan Covert from Mr. Deeds. You can Google it. He's like the PI in Mr. Deeds. He's got a funny curly wig. It's really just, it looks like Alan Covert's wig from Mr. Deeds, respectfully. So there's a pull for you. Vinny, I'll get you back on track. I got a head shake from her. I'll take that. We'll get you back on track. Looking at the 2025 rotation, is this top four wrong to assume? Jonathan Cannon, Nick Nastrini, Drew Thorpe, Davis Martin.
I don't think it's wrong to assume, but I think a lot can happen between now and spring training, or rather now and the end of spring training next year, right? Guys could rise. You could have guys that you're not thinking of right now or that weren't part of that list have a really nice offseason, have a really nice spring and kind of force the issue. Or you can have guys maybe, take a little bit of a step back. Maybe they don't have a great spring and it's like, all right, why don't you go down AAA or go to the bullpen and iron these issues out. The thing is here, none of these guys really are proven enough to the point where you're like, they're obviously part of it, regardless of what kind of spring they have. I think the winter and spring will be very important for all of those pitchers. Certainly, though, you got to be excited if you're the White Sox because that's a list of promising young guys, right? You're not saying, oh, boy, who are they going to get to plug this hole? What long reliever are they going to turn into a spot starter for the first 3 months of the season while they wait on prospect X? You've got four. You didn't even mention Kai Bush, guys that you could put in that rotation for next year and be excited about their futures as potential long-term pieces for this team.
And in that piece, he said two things that we've been told, like these are keys for being a professional sports player and having success at the major leagues. Having Dominic Leone come down while he was rehabbing himself and talk to the kid. Like he probably saw the kid when he was in the majors and it's like, yeah, you got the stuff, but the confidence isn't there. And then I heard you ask at the end, him talking to Dr. Fishbein about just mental health and stuff like that. And he said he wanted to keep between those two. And that's key. I'm glad that the kid is, searching for those things because so long in this game and in life, like men especially are just scared to get extra help for things that, are invisible, like things that you can't fix physically, the mental side of the game. And I'm glad that he is into what Dr. Fish, as he called him, is preaching, and it seems like the results have been good in the month of August, both with the minor leagues and then today's start.
Yeah, no, and it's a fair point about, men seeking therapy, Herb. But also, I would just like to think that Dr. Fish is like, yeah, you should throw 95. It'd be great. It'd be a great idea. I see you're sitting around 93. I think you should just try to reach back for that extra 2 miles per hour.
Mix in a slider every once in a while, too.
Right. Yeah, there you go. What if you went out there and threw, would lean more like 40% slider, 30% four seam. But no, you're right, Vinny, about Kai Bush's name. These are the guys that I have for the fifth spot. Mason Adams, Jairo Iriarte, Kai Bush. I'll throw Hagen Smith in there. I mean, we see the success that Paul Skeens is having. This is a guy that I would probably put over Noah Schultz, at least with ETA, because of age. And I mean, you've seen Hagen Smith go and dominate the college level. We've obviously seen, Noah Schultz be decent at Birmingham. I think you want to see a little bit more swing and miss from him, but he's also 20 and he's got a little bit more of an innings limit. Am I wrong, at least there, to put Smith over Schultz at this current moment?
I mean, I don't think either of them are going to be on the opening day roster, if that's what you're getting at. I think Hagen Smith, though, has a lot more experience. He's pitched in the best conference in college baseball. He's had some of the greatest success that a pitcher can have in college baseball, pitching at the highest level. And he hasn't been on this restriction that Noah Schultz has been on for what is currently the entirety of his pro career. Noah Schultz is yet to throw more, yet to pitch into the fifth inning as a professional, and he's going to have to be able to do that in order to be a major league pitcher. What he's shown in those 4 inning, samples has been fantastic. But he's been throwing once a week and no more than 4 innings. He's got to be able to be pitching every 5th day, and he's got to be able to go 7 innings in a game. If that's what's called for. So I don't think that Noah Schultz should be concerning anybody, but he might not be here, quote unquote, tomorrow, like a lot of folks might be excited about because of how good he has been and how high he is ranked. He's got a lot more development to do, I think. And Hagen Smith might not have quite as much, at least on that front. But obviously Hagen Smith has been a pro for 1 day, right? Or for 1 outing. So he's got a long way to go too.
And I know I overvalue these people the White Sox bring over, but you brought over Jacob Amaya. We haven't seen him in 3 games. Is there any talk before the game? And I know that Grady necessarily doesn't control the lineups and what's going on with the White Sox day to day, but is there any word of like, hey, we're going to try this guy out for any X amount of games or X amount of at bats? Because not seeing him in the first 3 games, it's kind of weird.
Well, Grady does control the lineups, and actually, that's kind of been surprising a little to us, not because the manager doesn't write out the lineups usually, but because we have heard of all the collaboration that goes on with the front office and kind of all the meetings that happen, and the idea that there is input, obviously, from the people who create the roster. But Grady has talked about, kind of the lineup being his area of control a little bit, and that they got to come take it from him, kind of thing. He's joked once or twice. So he is determining who plays. And I think actually you've noticed a little bit of a difference, at least I did, watching a doubleheader yesterday. Pedro would do a lot of the kind of wholesale changes in the second game of a doubleheader and kind of, make sure that guys got rest on what is a taxing day. We basically saw the same group of players play in both the first and the second game. And then I go back to when Nick Senzel was here. He played 1 game after Grady Sizemore took over. He played just 1 game before getting kicked off the roster in order to make room for Jake Amaya. But yeah, this would seem to me to be the ultimate empty your bench day, a day game after a doubleheader. But you're right, no Jake Amaya yet, and I guess he's just here to be Nick Senzel, which is the emergency infielder, I guess, because we have not seen 1 inning of him since he joined the roster.
Well, Vinny, we do have some news as waiver period is starting. It's not your old waiver period where there's the trades going on. Teams can claim these players, but Nicky Lopez was placed on waivers. So maybe that is the role that Jacob Amaya takes over if Lopez is claimed. Was there any talk post-game about Lopez being placed on waivers from Grady? And I mean, how likely do we think that, it's possible Nicky's picked up by either of you?
Yeah, so these aren't moves that like get announced or made official, right? So this is obviously just being reported by folks. And also too, don't get too excited. These are ways basically that a team can try to save a few bucks, right? I mean, I believe we saw Mike Clevenger placed on waivers last year, if memory serves. Nothing happened because nobody picked him up. But he's on waivers doesn't mean he's going anywhere because the team's got to want him. And Nicky Lopez, like much of this White Sox roster, has not really produced this year and has not really done much in not really anyone's opinion, but just in fact to kind of get a lot of teams come calling. Now, Nicky Lopez is obviously a veteran player. He's been around the block, played with the Atlanta Braves last year, so has been part of a contending team late in a season, and obviously has a very good defensive reputation. So maybe there is a team out there that's just looking for a late game defensive sub on the infield. Remember, this is happening now because September 1st is when you got to get a guy on your roster in order to have them be able to play in the playoffs for you. So maybe there is a team out there who wants to pay Nicky, a few $100,000 to come sub in late in the game defensively. But if there isn't, he's just going to stay on the White Sox. And so I understand folks see this, and it's a very misunderstood or just not understood part of the game because it's kind of weird and technical and all of that. But it might end up being a whole lot of nothing. We'll just have to wait and see.
I would love to see the Boston Red Sox waive Lucas Giolito. I know it's not going to happen, just so the Braves can pick him up so they can be reunited again. Because last year, as the White Sox traded him to the Angels on this waiver day, waived both of those guys, both picked up by the Guardians.
Will Lucas Giolito go to Atlanta, immediately magically fix his what do you fix? UCL, and then have a 2.05 ERA plus as a starter with the Atlanta Braves?
I mean, the former White Sox pitcher who went to Boston is in Atlanta now, and mercy, Chris Sale is having a renaissance year out there.
The other White Sox, well, the 2.05 ERA I was referring to was Reynaldo Lopez. So there you go. I mean, which White Sox player having a renaissance as a Brave starter? Fun. All right, Vin, I did want to get to.
You teased Sean about the other players.
Oh, that's it. The waivers. So Nicky Lopez gets put on waivers, but do you know who else gets put on waivers? The jerk who ruined Andrew Vaughn's walk-off homer yesterday, Travis Jankowski, along with his teammate Robbie Grossman and St. Louis Cardinal great Tommy Pham. So just a whole smattering of old friends being placed on waivers. I don't think it means much, and especially when you're rekindling the trade deadline day. St. Louis was looking for a spark. Oh well, and you kind of look at that deal, and they really didn't give up anything besides Tommy Edman. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting that Tommy Pham was brought there to bring a spark to St. Louis. His first 2 games, I think he was literally Stan Musial reincarnated, and now a little kind of a bittersweet end there for Tommy Pham. One question that we didn't get to was about those starters. What percentage do we think Crochet is here? Louis asked. 0 chance of Crochet. I just really think that the way that they've been talking about him, especially the way that Chris Getz responded, how they couldn't deal him at the deadline, I would put it at 0, but I know you've talked to Crochet a little bit more recently, Vinny, and even Bannister as well. What's the sense of Crochet being traded this offseason?
Yeah, I don't think you can ever put it at 0% chance that he'll be back. You don't know what's going to happen with all of these conversations, but it certainly seems like he's going to be a big focus of trade conversations this offseason. Kind of all of the hangups that might have come along with him at the deadline are going to be out the door. The whole contract thing, it's not going to apply anymore. The idea of, will he be able to pitch for me in the playoffs if you're an acquiring team? Not going to be a question anymore. The whole question mark of how he's going to fare as a first-time starting pitcher going to the end of the season, it's not going to be a question anymore because it's all going to be in the past. So I think it probably becomes easier for teams to trade for Garrett Crochet, or to convince themselves to trade for Garrett Crochet, because there aren't these little variables that go along with it. He can just be a top of the rotation starter for somebody from the jump and all the way through, health permitting. But then also it's about, will the White Sox price be met? And I think, remember, we were talking about Dylan Cease getting traded in November and December, right? And then he doesn't get traded until March. And it very well could have been that the San Diego Padres never came along with that offer that Chris Getz ended up taking, and that could have dragged on into the season. So it's about that right deal coming along. And if Chris Getz doesn't get it by the time the season starts, Garrett Crochet is going to be a White Sox. But there should be plenty of interest. There should be a pretty good understanding, because it'll have been teams that he's been conversing with about Garrett Crochet since May and June, you'd have to imagine. There should be a pretty good understanding of what that price is. And I would think that a team would probably meet that price, especially with all those questions cleared up by the offseason when they were all very present in July.
Unlike the Rick and Kenny regime, where they were very secretive and on their trade deals and like who's on the market, etc., the short period that Chris Getz has been out here, he is telegraphing what he wants to do. Like, this is pretty much fait accompli that Garrett Crochet is going to get traded this offseason. At least to me, the 25% that he's coming back, as what you spoke about, Vinny, where the teams that are trying to trade for him don't meet what the White Sox already established to themselves price would be for Garrett Crochet, and they just take him into the season. As you said, like, if the San Diego Padres didn't blink in March, maybe Dylan Cease is still a White Sox until the trade deadline of this year. So I think it's just 100% that he is, and the White Sox feel like they're going to trade Garrett Crochet for whatever reasons. You know, I don't think that communication or miscommunication helped the situation out in a favor of the White Sox and Garrett Crochet staying together. But I think that they have a mission to trade him this offseason, and I think that Chris Getz will go down that road and think about that road instead of, hey, how can we retain this talent or maybe keep this talent? That, I think that's plan B of failing to trade him away.
And listen, at the end of the day, it's very obvious where the White Sox are, right? And so I think while there are plenty of fans out there who probably want to see them keep Garrett Crochet around, I think it would be great for them because he's a great pitcher, a great young pitcher who could be here for a long time, given the right contract. The folks can look at this farm system right now, for example, or look at the rebuilding project in general and say, where is this talent coming from? When are they going to be good again? How are they going to be good again? And so Garrett Crochet represents a very rare opportunity that Chris Getz has to bolster that list of prospects or give folks a clearer picture of when this team might be good again, because he could bring in prospects with more clear timelines that fill out a lineup of the future a little bit more. I'm not saying at the end of the day that alone means getting rid of Garrett Crochet is worth it all the way, but Chris Getz's job is to weigh what is better for the long-term health of the team. And I think with the position that they're in right now, getting rid of Crochet in exchange for multiple players who could be part of this thing and help it along more quickly than 2 more years of Garrett Crochet without a guarantee that he'd be back after that would be, I think that's probably what Chris Getz sees. And I think that that's why everybody is looking at this as a very expected thing to happen, that Garrett would be pitching for another team next year.
Vinny, to wrap us up, I, of course, have to ask about my guy, Andrew Benintendi. Since the All-Star break, 30 hits, 17 of them are extra base hits. He now has a slugging percentage since the All-Star break over 500. Can he fit in the doorway with his biceps? I mean, what is going on with Andrew Benintendi? This is not the man that we've seen wearing that 23 for the past 2 seasons.
Yeah, I mean, you can probably call it too little, too late, or something along those lines. But this is Andrew Benintendi hot at the plate, right? This is the hitter that Rick Hahn envisioned when he gave him that contract that is still obviously the record free agent contract for this franchise. Benintendi was so in such a funk for the first half of the season that the numbers on the season still don't look very good. But what you just read off, the more recent numbers look like the kind of guy that the White Sox probably thought they were going to put toward the top of their batting order. And now they're getting him, albeit like I said, too little, too late. It's not meaning anything for the team because they have so many losses. They've been out of it since April. I mean, and Benintendi probably is not doing very much in the eyes of the fan base, right? With, you can call it, I guess, like a garbage time kind of situation with the numbers that he's putting up. Now, the idea for him and for the White Sox would be make this the norm. And when the season starts next year, and they're very likely to still have him on the team because of what his contract is and probably unable to make a deal to send him out of town elsewhere, they would like to see this be the guy moving forward. And maybe you get some interest at the trade deadline, or maybe he's able to help things along a little quicker in terms of a surprise, winning team here in the next couple of years. But this is the guy that they thought they were going to get. The circumstances make it probably register very little for the fan base. But if I were to have told you at the beginning of this season that it would be the end of August and Andrew Benintendi would share the team lead for home runs, what would you have said, Sean?
I would ask you, who's he sharing it with?
Andrew Vaughn.
Oh, I thought it was Paul DeYoung.
Well, Paul DeYoung technically still has the lead all by himself.
Yeah.
He's got 18, but he doesn't play for the team anymore. So he's a Kansas City Royal, and a good one at that. He's been playing pretty well for Kansas City. But, if you're talking about active White Sox, the team leaders with 15 home runs, the Andrews.
Well, and I think that's a perfect segue into Michael Leroy's comment, because I didn't realize this. So this is actually going to be the final question. Michael Leroy saying the club record of 106 might go down this weekend. I didn't realize they were this close to the club record. The club record was set in 1970. That team went 56 and 106. If the White Sox get swept for the 22nd time this year, they will have 107 losses. Are we talking about the 107th loss on Sunday? Herb, go.
No, because my guy, Jose Quintana, is pitching on Saturday. And if we know anything about Jose Quintana in Guaranteed Rate Field, is that he's going to get a no decision. And that will be the game the White Sox win and get their first comeback of the year. Off of Timmy Trumpet.
This is real specific. This is like Matt Tuiaposopo's homer.
Mm-hmm.
Vinny, does 107 happen this weekend?
Man, it might. This team is not doing anything, man. They had 3 hits today.
I know.
Come on.
It's only a 1-run game, though.
I understand the job we do is all about predictions and takes and trying to figure out what's going to happen in these games. You can ask me this every day for the rest of the year. I am going to expect them to lose unless they don't, because they have lost so much this year. There is no reason to go into any game and expect them to do something different than what they've done for the first 5 months of this season. And so could they lose all 3 games this weekend? Of course they could. They have done it 22 times, or 21 times rather, prior to now. There's no reason they can't do it again, but that's why they play the games. And so we'll see what happens.
Absolutely. That's going to do it for the CHGO White Sox postgame show. That is our CHGO White Sox beat writer, Vinnie Duber. You can follow him at Vinnie Duber. The man in the middle is Herb Lawrence, our CHGO White Sox community leader. I'm Sean Anderson. You can follow me at Sean_W_Anderson. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button and that subscribe button. Thank you to Sarah for producing the show. We'll talk to you on Sunday. Goodbye.
We all silly like the mayor.